Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
What's going on, BSers?
What's up, peeps?
What's going on? Happy Tuesday. Is it still raining out there?
It is pouring out there.
Get out.
It's crazy. Hey, I saw B. More Tuber. He's in the room.
He's alive.
Yes. B. More Tuber's in the room. No, Fred obviously not joining us. He had something last minute come up. So obviously the crew was going to keep on rolling without him. Sorry, Fred. We love you, but we can do this without you. So we got Drew here.
His words, not mine.
Hey, he'll be happy to hear that. All right. So for Drew joining us in that big boy seat, we got James over there in the producer seat tonight, as always. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you get those questions. Put them in the chat room. James will be monitoring that. Got cool new features that we can bring them up later during the social media shout out. But before we get started, one of the things go ahead.
I was gonna say, that really does come in handy doing that last week. That was really slick. Like, I hold on to stuff like where people would say something about the Orioles kind of early on. I'm like, all right, that's there. I can bring it back up later on.
Right? It's a nice feature.
Yeah, it is a real nice feature.
But before we get started, I think this week it's been a big week for the Ravens, right? We finally saw them sign a lot more of their rookies. We got a few that still remain, but some big pieces starting to fall for the 2022 season.
Yeah, and with that said, we take a dive into something we dislike seeing as a Ravens part of, and we will get your takes too. And the Birds continue to see growth with the young talent, but fans, we have to, took a big shot to our hearts this week,
heart, baby.
At least for 2022. For the foreseeable future, so we'll see how all that plays out.
Yeah, but before we actually dive into the full show,
every time, let's go.
This is you, buddy. Go ahead.
I mean, I can like just. You think
you don't even need that? Turn that shit over. You don't need that.
I'm not. No.
Oh, you don't have.
Then I'll be like, oh, is it Hassan? Is it Herndon Dennerson?
Go ahead.
Remember the team over at MD Crash? Well, we've been telling you about them long enough. You didn't save a number. Obviously, we're going to stop telling you to save the number at this point because you ain't going to do it. But you listen enough, you should be able to have it in your head at this point as much as we talk about it. So the team now called Bowers, Hassan, and Hearn can help you with any of your family law issues, from divorce, custody to child support, all that crap, to even criminal cases, from traffic tickets to murder. Maybe not some other seedy perversion type things. You can now call or text 667-220-6500 anytime for any of your needs. So save this number, even though I told you should have it. Update that MD Crash number at number 667-220-6500. Call anytime to get the team of Bowers, Hassan, and Herndon on the job for you. Oh, God. Get that camera off of me.
It's hitting those numbers every time. Hit those buttons every time.
Watson's gonna call him next.
You never know.
Oh, man.
Not illegal.
All right, so let's dive straight into it, Flock. All right. A lot of people have been getting antsy because up until this past week, the Ravens had really only signed 2 guys off their rookie contracts or to their rookie contracts. Well, guys, we are up to 6 out of 11 now.
Just shows you once you get to that, like, feels like 7 weeks of the OTAs. Once you get to this point in OTAs, all you guys have been in long enough. They've had the little conversations with their agent after talking to coaches and stuff. It's good to see some of these deals finally being made. Yeah,
there's a few big pieces to fall. We're going to kind of really break them down, but obviously we talked about Tyler Batty, the running back, late round pick. He was the first to drop. Usually those later guys are, right? Because they're the guys that are going,
you were happy to be a 6th round.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You almost went undrafted. Yeah, I'll sign that contract. Let's go. And I'm sure it's okay money. It's not first round money, but it's okay money. So he signs. The second defensive tackle, Travis Jones. Again, getting some of these deals starting to be done. Well, Monday, we see Isaiah Likely sign his deal. That was a big shoe to drop, being that there's now another tight end.
Yep.
It's a rookie deal. I get it. But this just shows that, hey, it was the right pick. It's the right guy. The other tight end, we'll talk about it in a little bit, hasn't signed yet. But you start kind of seeing these dominoes fall. Demarion Williams signed his deal today, right? We saw last week Tyler Linderbaum. This was the big first shoe to drop. Tyler Linderbaum last
you want to
Thursday.
get those first round picks under wraps.
He signed, and he really was one of those things that you were like, okay, why hasn't this guy signed? This is a center. We've been saying he's the starting center. So somebody in the producer seat over there says he doesn't think he's going to be a starter at all. But he gets that deal done. And we did hear on Wednesday last week, but we talked briefly about Greg Roman and some of his comments, during the show last week. But he did have some additional comments that we didn't bring up that we kind of saved until Linderbaum was signed. And one of the things that Roman said was, I told Tyler that it is my goal to have him laying in bed shaking every night. And if I stop there, that'd be an interesting statement.
We've been thinking about that vault.
But he wanted him to be worried about the next thing so that hopefully by training camp, he's not. And then by the season, he's feeling good. Meaning Greg Roman had a plan to set this guy up for success. He went on to say, so yes, we're trying to throw him in there and get him as much exposure as possible. He's doing a really good job. You can see it every day. Some guys, you just can't see it every day. They just take another step forward. And he's one of those guys thus far. So it's credit to him, and he needs to keep it going. So they're liking what they're seeing out of him. This is a guy that they're planning on him being their day one starter at center. They're trying to set him up for success for that.
Nah, he's not. He'll have to wait about a month, maybe, you think, to be the starting center? I think he might have it under by October.
Did you jump ship on me?
By October?
Did you jump ship on me? Don't do that.
Complete sarcasm.
Yeah, better be. James, you really still, after all this, think he is not going to be the starting center on this team?
I don't think so. You'll see in preseason with the twos and threes, getting by him. He just needs a year to sit behind. I don't think he's ready. Those T-Rex hands aren't ready to go.
I mean, if it would have been Trevor Penning.
No, right?
He would the first start.
Day one starter.
The first start he had, they would have just gave him one of the Pro Bowls there.
We'll get to see it. We'll get to see it when they play the Ravens in the bank.
All right, we'll see. I think we all still agree. Tyler Linderbaum is going to be the one that he's going to help this team for the future, not just for the foreseeable future, but long term as well. I think he's a lot of these offensive linemen. He's a first round offensive lineman. That's why he's a starter. Second off, he's a guy that he fits well in this scheming. There's things that they liked, and we saw the video breakdown that they did with him of how he can jump to the outside quickly, how he can shed blocks. It makes sense, and this is the one shoe that you were surprised didn't drop earlier when it comes to a contract, being that he's a lineman. Now granted, obviously if he doesn't choose to do it, and he could go into the draft again next year, but I don't know he's getting drafted in the same position.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily too worried about deals being made. Like it'd be kind of a different story if you got to, the first couple of days of training camp, the main camp for the, before the season, like that kind of thing. I know really it's kind of hard nowadays because it's not like you're negotiating anything. You're the slot, you're getting the certain amount of money per slot. I know like a few years ago, like Roquan Smith for Chicago Bears, like he whatever negotiations or he was trying, not holding out because obviously he didn't have any deal, but like they had discussions going on where he was trying to tweak this, that, and the other, maybe trying to see if maybe him and his agent
thought more signing bonus.
Well, maybe him and his agent thought they could maybe change the way the NFL does things, but I mean it didn't get dicey for them. I mean he signed late, a little bit of a slow start, but he's been a pretty key for them. So I wasn't too, like I said, unless you get into that, you're into August. that's when like a key guys like him and Kyle Hamilton, like if they aren't signed, then that's when you go.
Yeah. Well,
what's going on?
Speaking of Hamilton, up until this afternoon, our outline looked a lot different because we were asking the question, should we be worried that Kyle Hamilton hasn't signed? Well, today, that big one, it dropped. As he agreed to terms on his rookie contract, they had him sign the contract, sign the wall. Great to see those pictures. Here's the deal. 4 years, fully guaranteed, worth $16.25 million with a signing bonus of $9 million. And as always, he gets the fifth-year club option. And, well, I'm sure we'll sign soon after that. So the thing with this is, again, 4 years, $16 million. You add the 9 on there, okay, you're talking 4 years, 25 total is what the money actually equates to when you look at that. But that's not bad for a player of his caliber. Yeah. Right? This kid, we're talking, and I love the video, and we talked about this a little bit before, is the video, the hype video behind him where they had, Reed get on with him and the Kyle, I'm your father, like that whole thing and the joke. And like, and really I love to hear Ed Reed tell him, like, I'm sure you've heard it a lot, keep that noise out of your head about my name. Because it could be a lot to live up to. And, the same could actually be said for guys, not quite like Isaiah Likely, but the tight ends. You gotta live up to a lot as a tight end in Baltimore, too.
You really do. Yeah, there are certain positions where you gotta live up
Andrews.
To, yeah.
I mean, there's a few of these that happens, and this is one of them. And that piece for him, this is now probably the most expensive secondary in all of football, right? When you break this down, and credit to Fred for pulling these numbers, right? The current secondary salaries, take a listen to this. Marlon Humphreys on 5 years, $98 million. Marcus Peters, 3 years, $42 million. Marcus Williams, 5 years, $70 million. Chuck Clark, 3 years, $15 million. Kyle Hamilton, 4 years, $16 million. This is one of the most expensive secondaries in all of football right now. And they have the ability, barring any setbacks coming back from injuries, and they can come back to what they were prior on some of these guys. We've talked about it, but this is now a valuable secondary that is also dangerous.
Yeah, and I mean, I know some people might view it more as like a negative, or, you kind of think back to like, that was the thing with Wink. It was the secondary that, you know what I mean? Like the secondary was the specialty, and, if it worked, it was great. And if it didn't, it was bad. And I know usually people kind of take advantage of that whole injury plagued year, especially on the defensive side of the ball late, where it was kind of like you tend to forget, like, but you kept having guys drop like flies. You had guys like that were Uber drivers and stuff like, playing, your the secondary for you. I mean, look, the way they set it up is obviously they spend a lot of money, and like we just said, in the secondary, they set it up as a defense that is going to rely first and foremost on the secondary. It's either going to be really high flying to me, or it's, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be really shitty. And to me, that's just going to come down to injuries again, because I don't to see this being exactly really bad.
I mean, we still haven't seen Marcus truly back on the field yet.
I mean, still got to see, but like, I don't know. For me, the way I view things, I'm paying attention to football and fantasy football over the years. Like these teams that like have like really bad secondaries, where you're like, God, that team gives up 400 yards every game. I don't want like that at all. So like, to me, if you're really building that up and it helps the up front, then all the better. Yeah. But like, if you're up front completely craps the bed, then it's not going to matter one way or the other. Yeah, because they're gonna be, no time to do anything.
And I gotta address, Josh, I don't know what you're thinking with this statement. If you're saying it because of the injury, nobody knew he was gonna get injured, but you're saying Marlon was a mistake. I don't think Marlon was a mistake. We've talked about it on this show. Everybody on this show has pretty much agreed. Marlon Humphrey, he was, when he wasn't in the top cornerbacks in the league, or the top secondary guys in the league, top DBs in the league, I should say. We said that was a huge miss. When you don't hear Marlon's name, okay, yeah, last year the punches weren't there like they were before, But that's because he's also having to try to wrap up guys because his guys are trying to do what he did and he can't do it because they're letting the guy go. So he's got to wrap him up. But on the flip side of that, the other thing is with Marlin is a guy that can lock down. Did he have a few moments last year? Yeah, but he was also having to cover the other side of the field because his counterpart wasn't there. Half of his starting defense really wasn't there. His linebackers couldn't figure out what they were doing, so he's having to break coverage to go with those guys. There's a lot of different factors here. So I don't know. Saying that Marlin was a mistake is, he's trying to punch too much now. No,
Ravens fans would rather be negative and wrong than
here's the thing.
Be positive and
he was
wrong.
still punching the same. The problem was the rest of the team was trying to punch. When they worked best was when somebody would get the feet, Marlin was coming in and punching, or he's making contact on the punch. It's what he does best. You could say the same thing about Marcus Peters. If you want to go that route and you want to call that the case, then Marcus Peters could be a bust of a contract because he gets burned too many times. I've said he gets burned too many times, but he is a top-tier cornerback, right? So you can make the argument either way. If you can talk about risk versus reward, the same is true, and Fred's brought this up, right? The risk versus reward with Marcus Peters and how he plays is the same of Marlin. The problem is you have to have a guy that's in there. And there's Fred. He's jumping right in this. Marlin was asked to do too much last year due to injury. He will be back in this form this year. He's worth every penny, and that's exactly what we're talking about.
Last year doesn't count. I'm guessing Nick's saying last year doesn't count for anything on our end for the argument?
No, he's talking about Marcus Peters.
Well, either way, but Marcus Peters gets interceptions. Marlo doesn't. Marlo gets turnover. Marlon gets punches out, and Marcus doesn't. Marlon doesn't give up as many big plays as Marcus does. Marcus has been burned more times when you're talking about big plays than compared to Marlon. So this back and forth, if you can't make excuses for one and not make excuses for the other. So I'd have to say I disagree with you. I think everybody here, unless I'm wrong with you, James, I think you agree, Drew. But do you think that the Marlon deal was a bad deal, James?
It was good for its time, just like anything. Some contracts, you sign them, you're like, oh, this is a good contract, and then something happens, you're like, that was a bad contract. It's part of business. Like, when you sign contracts, people are shitty, and then they get rewarded, and you have to deal with the contract. And then some people are like, they overdid their contract, and they want more money. So you can't win. It is we're going to have this debate on players time after time about we overpaid, we underpaid.
And the way things go anyway, it's the next guy gets the contract. How many times have we said that?
Yeah.
So even if you think that Marlon isn't worth the money, well, at the time he was, and now corners are going to get paid more anyway. So the next corner, the next couple corners that get paid, they're not. That doesn't mean they're going to ever live up to that contract because a lot of fans feel that way. Like you're never going to live up to contract because you should have defensive MVP every single year if you got the highest paid quarterback.
Like Fred said, they're different. They're different corners, and that was my point, right? They're different corners. They're not comparable in play, but my whole point in the comparison side of things was you can't sit there and make excuses for one and not make excuses for the other, or vice versa.
And I'm also not one. I'll completely disagree with like someone's contract being the worst one ever when the guy got hurt. Like when you made the Stanley deal, it was like, let's just sit here.
He got hurt. He was being asked to do more things because of the injuries on the team.
Stanley's playing left tackle, and the guy that I don't like is playing right tackle. Yeah. Now, they're both all pros, but this guy's literally a left tackle. Like, this guy dropped in the draft, whether it was because of the combine, it was BS, whatever. This guy dropped in the draft. You paid this guy. You don't know that guy is going to get rolled up on in the next game. You don't know if he's going to be driving his car to the practice and have an accident paralyzes him. You don't know that shit when you sign the contract.
That's the thing about every Ravens fan. You're always going to have, we should pay Peters and not Marlon. And then you have people that want to pay Marlon, not Peter. It's just
and
part
if you
of the
let
game.
that guy walk, there's another linebacker that walk. There's another pass rusher that walk. Well,
this is always going to be a continuous cycle. It's like a revolving door. It's going to keep on going.
Yeah.
We should pay this guy.
And to Fred's point regarding the Stanley contract, and I know that Jacob Paul brought up that Stanley was worse than Marlon's. It's only worse in your eyes now because of the injury. Like it's unfortunate to Fred's point, and that's one of those things. We don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We all get that, and it's easy to go back and look in hindsight and call something bad. But in the moment, that's what we're actually, for once, we're actually all in agreement here
if that's
to an
the case,
extent.
the contract that what's his face, Edwards got. We overpaid for him because he got injured, so that was a waste of money right there.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. It sucks, but look, there's a lot of different things here. But overall, going back to what we were talking about, right? This deal makes this not only the most expensive, but the most, I think, most dangerous and the most potential secondary in the league. Which, to your point, if it's going to rely heavily on that, what have we heard? We've heard, okay, that's going to free up some time for some of these guys on the front side to stay healthy. They're not going to maybe not be doing as many snaps. We know McDonald is heavy and tends to, in his past defenses, has tend to rely heavily on the linebacker core. We see them making some adjustments, talking about Patrick Queen getting better. Think he's making a big leap this year is what they're saying. So there's a lot of different things that kind of come in, and this secondary just becomes that much more dangerous with all that. Of the unsigned rookies, we still also have our second-round pick in David Ajabu. We have our fourth rounders in Jalen Armour Davis. Your boy Jordan Stout isn't signed yet. Tight end Charlie Kohler and offensive tackle Daniel Falele. Any concern or surprise? I'll start. I'm actually one that I'm surprised hasn't signed yet. Was actually Daniel Falele.
Yeah,
he seemed really excited. He seemed to be a guy that would be there. I'm sure there's little things that are being worked out, and that's all it is. It's just, little things here or there, extra added pieces to the contract. But at the same time, hey, I'm just surprised because he seemed when they did that hype video that we talked about last week, like he seemed like the guy that was like, I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, those are the kind of things like we're not real privy to. I've already said it. I mean, I'm not concerned because it's still, it's June 7th. Like
Yeah,
August 7th is a whole lot different story type of thing. The only one just to even bring anybody up would maybe be Ajabo, and it's not against Ajabo.
Okay.
I could see there being with a guy like coming off that injury like that, how you got to play with the contracts and how the wording gets and your escape clauses and stuff like that. You never really know when it comes down to those little small fine details in the contracts. That could be the only like concerning thing.
Okay.
But none of these really concern me.
Yeah. So we'll put it out there to the Ravens flag. Any surprises to you on that list? Again, that list is David Ajabu, your second rounder, your fourth rounders in Armour Davis, Jordan Stout, Charlie Kohler, and Daniel Falele. James, anybody for you that stands out here that you're surprised hasn't signed yet?
Like Drew said, I think Ajabu is going to be the last one to get signed due to the injuries and him being selected second round. So he's going to be like, I want that second round money as well, but the Ravens are going to be like, well, we're going to put something in with your injury, clause. So I think that he's going to be the last one to be signed, in my opinion. I'm a little surprised about Falele not being signed, but Ajabu's the one that I think is probably going to be the last one to be signed.
So, all right, you liked him. Jordan Stout, surprised he hasn't signed yet?
No, he's just checking with his agent, make sure he gets topped out.
Nick Short says Stout will be the last because he's a punter. Fred says the team is getting done at their speed. The guys are still getting their work and in the classroom. Contracts are a matter of time. I agree. I think this week kind of proved that when we went from 2 up to the 6 mark, 4 in a week. And, it's really 4 of them have happened in the last 48 hours. So in all reality, or 36 hours even.
Yeah, it's been hard for me to catch up because I didn't even really know some of the other ones, like you were saying, like I knew about the big boys obviously today.
Exactly.
But some of the other ones are like, oh shit, okay, they signed. I've been last couple of days so damn busy to pay attention to everything.
If some of these when we get to true non-voluntary OTAs and we really truly get into mini camp and starting to see the full team show up and all the mandatory mini camps and all that stuff. If things aren't signed by then you start kind of going, okay, I wonder what's going on. Like, because usually you see a lot of those rookie contracts signed by minicamp.
Yeah, especially when the mandatory stuff hits.
Yeah. So that'll be the interesting thing to see. But to Fred's point, they're getting them done at their speed. I don't think it's a worry. I think people were worried, and I'll be honest, I was one of them that the longer Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum went without signing, it was kind of like, okay. how finesse are we getting on these details, right? Like,
yeah, because like we said, I said, it's a slot now. It's a different story when you're like, you could ask for damn near anything you wanted, and then then it's,
But it's up to the team whether they want.
It's
up to the team whether they want to offer you the max of the slot or they can go below the slot, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen them do that before, where they go lower on one guy so they can spend a little bit more on the guy that they weren't maybe anticipating. We've seen that
Michael
in
Elias
football.
could run this team, though.
All right, we've seen that in football. We've seen that in baseball. It goes both ways. And David says,
Faggot.
Fago. Did Fago sign? I don't know if Fago signed.
He did sign. No, remember we talked about it last week. He's signed, but I mean, as an undrafted guy, signing doesn't really
mean much.
Really mean anything.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna talk Lamar. Right. It's bound to happen. Right. Everything has been going on. Lamar is still a story. Credit to Adam Bonacorsi, who on Twitter is at Adam Beemore, and at purple_black veins or perp_black veins on their breakdown of the OTA situation with Lamar. Adam Bonacorsi said, "This is not a contract dispute." And then perp black veins turned around and said, Lamar says, "I'm just focused on the next season." Lamar's teammates say he's just focused on getting a Super Bowl. Ravens front office says, "We're here when he's ready, but he's focused on the upcoming season." Media turns around and says, "Oh my God, the Ravens don't want to give Lamar contract money." So here we go again. It continues to be brought up. It continues to be an issue, but we see some things this week that are definitely interesting, and we've seen little bits and pieces, right? But this week, did you see the video of Lamar throwing the 50-yarder from one knee, right?
Shit. That ain't shit.
With apparent ease.
More
Bowler
through
did
70.
70.
Yeah, I know.
Like, no
I
one
don't
cares
care
about
one
that
way or the
shit.
other. I don't care if he threw it 100 yards.
And if you're down on
I
one
really
knee,
don't care because it
if you're
doesn't
down on one
matter.
knee, you're down anyway, so don't impress me, dude. Doesn't.
I don't know why you expect anything else.
I
I
know
don't bring
why
anything to
do
the table.
either.
I think that stuff is stupid. It's just
Yeah.
like the combine. So the guy can run really fast. Can a guy run really fast and push a cornerback out of his way within 5 yards and get behind him?
hey,
Fair enough.
Can-
So
Can
the,
you hit a?
Get rid of the Pro Bowl skills competition. You get on one knee and throw the football. So
Exactly.
It's a tryout for that.
all right. So obviously you have that.
Somebody like Davis Mills would win that one.
You had to throw that out there. You had to throw that out there. That's a fantasy joke right there.
That's an insider.
Did you guys also see the photos of him in the tank top after lifting, where he does look like he bulked up a little bit, like not
It's not
quite
bright photos either.
No, not. And it's also the guy's walking away. It was done sneakily.
Look.
We get it. It's not like Lamar came out and was like, "This is how I look now." But the whole point in bringing this up is like, this is bulk. We've heard about him trying. We've seen videos of him running with weights, lifting. We've seen him doing a lot more with it and trying to really better himself. We truly see the videos, and that's what my point with all this is. He seems to be making an effort to, in his eyes, better himself to better his game. But the question that really Fred and I were kind of debating back and forth, does this, for a guy that we're depending on his quickness, right? And depending on that Lamar speed and that extra gear, any concern on the extra, quote, bulk being put on?
Looks like he's gonna be a tight end 5 now.
Looks more like a running back. Looks like a running back.
So, yes and no. I know, and the running back jokes aside, like when you see a running back do that because of being a smaller frame, and it's like the guy's just bulking up to take more hits,
right?
As a running back, and you see that from a guy like,
you're building power,
but dude, like. I'm not saying it's going to be JK, but JK has a really good season this year, but it's like 1,300 yards. Well, I want to be the 1,900 yards because I pulled through a guy. And you get in your head that, like, I got to bulk up. It slows you down 9 times out of 10, especially if you're not like a Derrick Henry or, say, like Marshawn Lynch, where you're running in the guys, and it fucks your career up. Obviously, we talked about taking more hits.
He's big because he's in Florida right now. It's tank top weather down
Yeah, so why not? So when I bring that up, then what would be a concern is if you, and even then, it's your fans would be putting in your head, you don't know why he's doing it or even how he's doing it, whatever. In your head, you would then think, well, now he thinks he needs to bulk up so he can start being like Cam Newton and running into these hits, like Josh Allen running into these hits when that's
It's
not
not
your
his game. Yeah.
I don't think that's his mentality anyway.
That's Photoshop
about
anyways.
doing it. And let me tell you one thing. Out of that whole video, everyone's talking about the guns and look at that shit. That motherfucker came out of a cryo chamber and he was wearing the shit on his feet. That's all I cared about. He didn't pull an Antonio Brown, because it seems to be like one of his best friends. He didn't pull an Antonio Brown and walk out. Because the first time you saw it, it was like that one where he's like looking through.
Yeah.
And then there's like a little like clip of him coming out of the thing, and
That's
I
good
looked
AB.
down immediately. I looked down. All right, he's got footwear over. Good.
That was
He's
AB
got the
in there.
booties on. He's got
I'm
the
good. He
booties
can
on.
do whatever
We're
he
good.
wants as long as he's wearing booties.
David, I love it. David says, gotta love Lamar making the mainstream media shit the bed like Amber Heard.
That's because AB was in there with him. He's like, hey, you better cover your feet out there.
Yeah, no, I think, from my perspective, I agree with you. I think this is the one thing that I do. I do worry about a little bit because when a guy, we semi thought we were seeing it when it came to Hollywood. He put on a little bit of weight. Not in a bad way. It was healthy weight, but it does slow you down. If you're working on explosiveness or something like that, that's one thing. But that's all upper body. That's your frame.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that's a little bit different. Now, the only thing that I would say, the whole thing about the video with the throwing from the knee and all that stuff, one of the things I would say is, look, all these things that are coming out, it's a little bit to show that he's working on himself, right? He's working on his game to make himself better. He's, people talk about his accuracy. They talk about he can't throw the deep ball. Okay. You want to know why people look at the whole thing from the knee? Because if you can do 50 yards from a knee, you should be able to throw another 10 or 15 yards standing up using your entire hips, your entire body as a slingshot, warping up and like a rubber band, just letting it go. That's why people like that, because that just shows you're able to throw 50 yards with pure upper body strength. What can you do when you can put your whole body into that throw, right? You can start coming out with more velocity. You can start coming out deeper. There's things that people look at with that. So, James, I get what you're saying, and it's not impressive to you, but to me, I'm looking at the mechanics. The mechanics of the throw were there. It looked smooth.
If you want to see mechanics, have a guy stand on your deck and let Lamar throw it to him, because your deck is so small, he'll have that radius to drop it in there. See, if he was on my deck, he could throw it anywhere. It'd be out of the coverage. But on your deck, it's small enough. You put one guy on there.
You know what? You're
and you
right.
just drop the
You're
ball.
right. Let's let Lamar come out, because if he can hit my deck, you know what?
He can hit your deck. He can hit anybody.
So if we can do that, you'll shut up about Lamar.
Yeah, I'm
all right.
Lamar, come
guys,
out here.
Let's make it happen. Let's let Lamar come out, hit my small deck, DECK. Just for clarity, yeah, James forever shitting on Scott. Yeah, just like Amber Heard shitting on beds. Jesus Christ. Lamar is looking for a Super Bowl. He knows where he is heading and wants to be more in the pocket, less designed runs. He will get out of the way of guys who are making it through our huge line. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, you have an offense that has had success built around what he does. We're looking to add a piece, so you don't want to hit him to take away from that. So you hope that Giro is having him, still work on these things when they come back, and we'll go from there. Yes, of course, Nick. So we'll talk more about that, but I think it just shows all the videos and stuff. I think I'm seeing what I'm seeing out of videos, the videos of him on the track, running with the weights and then running without the weights. That counteracts the whole thing of him bulking up, because he's then taking on the weight, extra weight, to get used to running at that speed and still having the explosion, still having the output that he does. So I think that's one of the things that people got to take a step back, and we'll find out when he shows up to minicamp. We'll find out how he looks.
Yeah,
we'll find out how things are.
I'm at this, like, I love summer. I don't want summer to rush, but God, I'm ready for football to start, because I'm getting so tired of hearing everything. I really am. That's why I'm like, is he here? Is he not? Whatever. Is he paid? Is he not? Whatever. Is he a good guy? Is he not? Like, it's just, it's
so
such a polarizing guy. Like, I'm just tired of it all, and it's not a knock on him. It's just, it's a knock on all of us, because I'm just tired of hearing about stuff that really is so far down the road on stuff. It's like,
non-stories.
It needs to be real. Like, I just can't wait for results. I mean, like, I can't wait for.
I hope he worked on
week
his
one.
legs.
They won week one. Oh, week two they won week. That I can't wait for.
I hope Lamar worked on his legs. Build his legs up, because those arms were like gun shows, dude. It was pretty impressive. Whoever took that picture, like, it was just a weird, awkward.
Why does it seem like James took that picture now?
I wish. Dude.
I mean, hey,
It looked like he came out of the locker room like, and then went back in and got dressed. Like
I'm still just impressing where booties in the cryo chamber.
right.
It was the first thing I looked down at. Where you better be wearing like quadruple like the socks, whatever they give you.
All right, so moving on, the last thing we're going to kind of talk about in the Ravens segment is, some people were a little upset, and some people, I guess, didn't get the news. I actually wasn't one of them, and I don't think Drew was until we shared this pre-show, or he didn't remember on it. But the Ravens, a lot of people were pushing and have pushed last year and this year for the Ravens to be on one of the Hard Knocks versions, just to see it. And I think ultimately it's because we see everything that the Ravens media team produces, and it's like, oh, if they could be on Hard Knocks, and God, if they could involve the Ravens media team, like the production would be all. Because honestly, I think some of the stuff that we've seen, the Ravens media team, like in some senses, outproduces HBO's Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it's they're a benchmark for sure.
Yeah, and so people were really hoping to see that, and I was. Were you? Obviously, it's not happening. The Lions were chosen as the normal preseason Hard Knocks team for this year, and it was brought out about 10 days ago, maybe a little over that, that the Cardinals have been selected for the November in-season series that they started last year with the Colts. So that'll be interesting with the tie with, everything with Hollywood. Do they get into some of that? I'm sure that that'll be talked about. Where are they at with things? How is he doing? He will be a portion of that. Kyler Murray will be a portion of that. DeAndre Hopkins will be a portion of that. It will be interesting because remember, come November, that will be around when D-Hop is coming back. Right? I mean, they're going to be about that point. So we're going to see that on Hard Knocks, which is a story within itself. And I'm sure part of the reason that they were shown. But it got me thinking, we've never really talked, I think we've maybe mentioned it here or there. Would you truly like to see the Ravens on a Hard Knocks at some point? Or are you okay with them not being on it?
I'm kind of like on the fence. Like, it would be cool. I mean, they were the first ones at least. So, I mean, and people still, not even just Ravens fans, people do like look back on that fondly for many,
all the different videos. The Shannon Sharp,
like the Shannon Sharp thing is mainly like why a lot of people, if you're not a Ravens fan, will definitely remember it. But so like I'm kind of on the fence because like at least we did, like I said, that it would be cool. But then I can kind of like get like it doesn't seem like the Ravens as a whole like they're fine not being on it. Like it seems like they're fine. Like I could see, and I've heard a lot. Like,
but are you fine when you're still putting out your own media produced stuff?
I guess because you can control that. You really can only control so much of HBO.
From what I understand, Hard Knocks, they do allow them to have a little bit of control.
I'm sure they do, but still, that's not 100% your control. Still, too.
Fair enough.
I think a lot of coaches just don't want the distraction. So like I'm just pointing out the negatives of having someone.
Yeah.
It would be cool, but I'm never really clamoring for it. It's just something. I mean, like we've got our own issues just with the polarization of Lamar and having the negative year last year that we should have been better and all whatever excuses you want to give. Like we got enough like drama there. I'm fine not having like the added Hard Knocks type of thing.
For me, I would have loved to have seen a few different things with it and what it would have come out around it. And I'll go over that in a minute. But go ahead, James.
If Hard Knocks with the Ravens, Greg Romans would never get a offensive coordinating job after he watched that. Like, I don't even know why this guy's on the goddamn team. These guys awful.
They'd have Hard Knocks, and you'd find out like on Greg Roman's bulletin board is just a really nice drawn picture of a vault.
I was going to say there's a section that says
it exists. I told you.
There's a section that says the vault and it's empty.
Yeah, Greg Roman.
Or it's all crossed off.
I'm not going to show you guys. Duh.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I look at it. There's a few things that I think would have been interesting to see this year, and I hope that the Ravens do continue with like the way they did with the Ravens, the rookie minicamp that they did. I really think they should continue with that because I think there's some things that some fans would love to see, right? The changes from a workout and a health standpoint, right? That's one of the things they actually do in the Hard Knocks that I do like is like sometimes you get to see what are the guys eating. They go over nutrition. They go over some of that stuff and the adjustments that teams are making. And they do look at some of this. Hard Knocks does look at some of the storylines from the off season and what's going on. How is it impacting the team? And so I get the whole. It can be a distraction. 100% get that. And we've seen that for teams. Hard Knocks does not exactly have a good history of having that team then turn around and be
even
a
have
competitor.
A decent season. Yeah.
Now, I mean, we did see it was great last year with the emergence of Jonathan Taylor to see the in-season.
Yeah, I never
version.
watched the in-season one.
Really? I loved it.
It's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, I know, but it was.
That's usually my excuse, anyways.
It was good. Seeing the little things like that, and then you see, who's the guy in their secondary? Kenny something. I forget his name, but he was a guy that he had multiple great games, interceptions. The storyline of him helping in the community and the family that he had this tie with.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The players' names dropped. Yeah,
but just little stuff like that. It's the extra little stuff. Now, I think the Ravens have actually historically done a pretty good job of that. I just would love to see it more in depth. I'd love to see it documented. I think we all would go back, no matter how the season went. Mm-hmm. We would all love to be able to look at a documentary, basically, that was the Ravens season that says, start to finish, what did it look like?
Like behind the scenes, see, like, man, God, these coaches and everything, this staff was trying so hard, they just could not.
Right,
that would be you're right.
There's a lot of interesting things that I think would come out of it, and I think that it would give Ravens fans and Ravens flock a different insight, and some people might change their mind, and some people might not, right? And it would be, yes, it's going to be real easy for everybody to turn back and point the finger at, oh, look at this shot in this, and this. He dropped it. He shouldn't have been on the team. Okay, it's real easy to say that stuff in hindsight. But when you sit there and look at that, there's a lot of different things that this team is trying to do right now and trying to adjust. And I really hope that, being that they aren't on Hard Knocks, I thought that the rookie minicamp thing was almost felt like that would have been like a tryout,
like
for
an audition,
for Hard Knocks. Like, hey, look what we can do with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Let us have control. We're going to give you content. But it's not going to be. We're not going to have a whole lot of negative content. And if in all honesty, if you look at Hard Knocks over the past few years, there actually hasn't been a lot of negative content in there, right? A lot of controversial stuff.
For me, I used to watch it religiously, but the last couple of seasons, I'll watch the first one and then I'm kind of watching the second one, but I'm not really paying attention. Then I'm like, oh, I missed it. I missed the third one. Well, I'll binge it, and then I never do, because it's just the last couple times. I guess there's only so much you can really do to change your format. It's kind of like they stick to the format because obviously it still sells. It's still, part of football. So, don't broke what ain't fixed. But sometimes, I like to see something newer or something a little refreshed with it for me.
Yeah. It'd be I know that if the Ravens were on it, you would watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I figured as much.
Because then we'd be talking about it on Tuesday. Then have to.
Cedric.
Damn.
Seti Moles and Boom Boom went back to back to lead off the game. Mateo hit a 3-run shot over the wall. Woo!
You're welcome, Fred. I mean, I wasn't shit talking. I was not shit talking Mullins, but I made Mullins a point of conversation. It seems like ever since then, that night he was doing nice, couple home runs.
Yeah, he knocked it pretty well. All right, it's time for a social media shout out. James, who do we have in the chat room tonight, and what are they saying?
Well, tonight, Chuck Summers, always number one. Ahmed, David, Sharon Sherry, as always. Just always want to say, hey guys, doesn't mean just guys. The world has been changing. It's they and them or everybody. So I'm gonna have to change my lingo up on the chat so everybody's taken care of. But we all want to give out this shout out.
Gotta love Sharon Sherry. Gotta love
but
her.
I still call them ladies. All right, we have ladies. I'm not them and they. I'm not in those zones anymore. Okay, we're not like the Carolina Panthers have our first transgender cheerleader. So we're gonna leave it like that. We got Nick Short. Be More Tuber in here. Fred is in here. We got multiple twins commenting on this site right now. Kamar, Garnett, Josh, Jacob, Douglas, Steve Moore. So, they're all flying in. It's all about the same things. talking about, Lamar. I'm just tired of Lamar. I can't wait till next week when he shows up because he's going to be busy at that podium answering a lot of questions. And we'll be talking about it the following week. So it's always good. But I think they don't come until or after our next show, right? If I'm correct.
I think so. I'd have to look. I don't have to
wait. We're gonna have to wait like 2 weeks for this, so it's gonna be piling up all these questions.
When we transition over to the Ravens, take a look at that and just see when they start. But I know that so David Missler was talking about what we were actually just talking about. He said, I think that the distraction thing is right, Drew. We're going to have a ton of rookies. Wait till next season if we're established with a good culture and these young guns. And look, I get that. It's not going to happen, so we don't have to worry about it. It's just, I think it's just good for fans to see. We're at a turning point right now, right? And so I think part of it is Ravens media and just the Ravens showing what this team is trying to do to turn the corner, right? That's part of what Hard Knocks has been, right? It's either a team rebuilding or a team trying to turn the corner. Indianapolis they got the nod last year because they were a team trying to turn the corner, right? Arizona, kind of the same thing right now. They're a giant question mark, but they're trying to turn a corner and have success, and they're doing some things to try to have that success, but they've had controversy.
Which is funny, usually when they get to November is when it shits the bed. So if it happens again, I might have to watch this Hard Knocks in season 1 then.
It's going to be interesting to kind of really see that. And he said, isn't the point to pick a dysfunctional team for Hard Knocks like the Clowns? Look,
they make it so it's like, if you weren't, I'm gonna butcher like their criteria, but like it's like if you haven't been on it before and you weren't a division winner or something like that, like it every year by the time they get to their selection, there's like a pool of like 6, 7, 8 teams where it's like look, it's gonna be one of them, and you're like, it could be somebody else, but like it has to be one of those 8 if they don't have someone.
So just to let you know, next week's show is gonna be lit because OTAs or mandatory is Tuesday the 14th.
So day off. All right, so we'll have to we'll be listening to the press conferences, I'm sure. David says, you think Giro makes it through the entire season?
He shouldn't.
I mean, like, okay, put it this way. If he doesn't make it through the entire season, our season is shit. Because that means the offense like did nothing.
Do they
like I mean, I don't mean like you had issues with injuries. Like you could all you can use that. You can forgive for that. I mean, like, you literally were, like, not scoring at all. You were losing, like, every game. You'd have to fire him thinking you'd have some kind of fire. So, like, there'd have to be a disaster. Like, if he – and I'm not even meaning as a defense type thing. Like, it's not going to be, like, a situation where they were just, like, tired with Cam Cameron and they had – the guy took over it was like a seamless thing, and it worked in their favor almost. I don't see that being the same thing. Like to me, like I said, not in a defensive Giro, but if there's a situation where it's the end of October, it's Halloween, and he's got the axe, that means something really, really bad happened. Or he had, there was some kind of argument, something.
David says, I don't want him to get by with close wins. If we aren't putting up a ton of points on the board in the first 3 to 4 weeks, I'm at least pulling him into the law office along with Harbs. And I don't...
I'll disagree a little bit with that, because if they did exactly what they did in 2019, you'd still have fans pissed off that they weren't doing something else. Or, like, oh, yeah, they did that. You'll have delusions of what happened in 2019. Like, yeah, that offense was so great, but that's what this fan base has become. I
think the thing here with his point is you've given him weapons, an offensive line to help protect Lamar. The weapons we think might already be there, right? So if you're not putting up points and you see that it's potentially a scheming issue, then you got to pull him in. You got to pull him in and kind of light a little bit of a fire. So it kind of goes with what you were saying, because you were saying if they weren't putting up a ton of points. So if they're winning close games, if we're winning games,
just fucking win,
if we're
baby.
winning games 10-8 or 10-6 or 9-6, and we're doing that consistently over the first 3 to 4 weeks, then can't say I necessarily disagree with it. I think we'd have to look at what those defenses look like and if they were able to stop Lamar and stop what we were trying to do. But it's also scheming, it's adjusting, and being able to put points on the board. And I think to his point, if we're not putting points on the board and it's all these low, that's that we need to have 40-point games. But if we're not scoring at least 15 to 17 points in a game, on average for the first 4 weeks, I think there's a point there. I think we may need to have the discussion that, hey, something's got to change here because we need to be putting points on the board. And given our not putting it all on our defense here, we have an offense that has the ability to score. Let's do it. So I think I get what he's saying. I think it's very situational, but we're going to have to see what winds up happening. All righty, it is time for Bros, Bows, and O's, and the team is now 23-33 overall. We went 1-2 against the Mariners last week, and then 1-2 against the Guardians this weekend. Start a brief two-game series against the Cubs tonight. Sounds like things have started off well with that. Sounds like Seti, I forget who he said, Seti and somebody else went back to back.
Birds.
Yeah, 7-1 Birds currently. Bradish only a blemish.
Gotta
was a
stop giving up
solo
home
shot.
runs, man. 4 walks. Ugh.
Yeah, that's a hard
Still
part. 4 walks with 4 Ks too. I don't hate that. 4 through 3 2/3.
Hey, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It's 7-1 one way or the other.
Exactly.
He's
Man.
battling out of it. That's good.
So, all right, let's start with let's just rip the fucking Mandate off here because you broke it last week during the damn show.
And literally, as soon as we stopped arguing with each other about Grayson Rodriguez,
Yeah,
I think it happened while we it must have happened before we even started arguing, or like as
we started.
It was around that whole same thing. Yeah, it sucks. So last week when during the show, Grayson Rodriguez they pulled him with a lat issue. At first came out as cramps and stuff. It kind of had that feeling when you come out like that. It was a little bit of a hotter day, kind of out of nowhere. In those situations, obviously you got to see what the MRI is. So after a couple days, it did get confirmed it was a grade 2 lat strain on that throwing side. Elias made it known like, hey, it wasn't the scenario we envisioned, but it's not a long-term thing, and long-term as in, affecting another year or two or stuff like that.
Well, it hurts when he says the timing on this is horrible.
So, yeah, that's what I was going to get to. So, like you said, Elias is always pretty damn straightforward. You know what I mean? Like, what he says is kind of like gospel. Like you just said, the way the conversation went, I think maybe he wasn't, maybe not tonight, or I think he would have been called up on Tuesday or Wednesday. If not, it would have been this month. It was coming. Like, it wasn't a down the road or after the trade deadline. It sounded like the way Elias said it was like this was really bad timing. Like, he felt bad that like this little nagging injury popped up because at that it was like with Adley that we were getting frustrated about not really knowing. It sounded like Grayson, like Adley, was at that point where, all right, that's what we wanted to see from you. Now here it is.
You turned the corner. Your last 3 starts have been consistent, kind of thing. Yeah. He was
named, minor league player of the month
earlier that
day for May. Time, like you said, timing was bad. It was shit with it, but I mean, look. I wanted him up here. It's no joke. Yeah, I mean, that was the argument.
The injury could have happened either way.
I don't really want to rehash that, but I mean, it is, if you really do break it down, it's like we say, it's not like it's been a lot funner watching Orioles games, but they're 10 games under 500. It's not 5 games over 500, and you almost felt like this guy could have been you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to rush him. If he pitches in September, cool. That won't really start the clock anyway. And, if it's April, so be it. But for me, to be any kind of harshness, like, if all that works out, I'm fine if he doesn't pitch at all the rest of the year. When April rolls around, I want him on the opening day starter. Like, I don't know what else you could really do. Unless, like I said, unless there's still some kind of thing, which then that's a whole different can of worms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to be doomsday on that one. Like, if health is not an issue at all, and you know what I mean? Like, you looked good in spring, I want him on the opening day roster. And that's what it sounds.
That's what it kind of sounded like. Because that whole piece of the September, it's saying they're saying that he could be coming back in September from this injury. So maybe he comes back, has one or two, has a
because even the way they said it's like that was like the parameter he gave, and it sounds like an Elias thing to do to say September or the rotation. Or I mean, like August 1st it could be early August, and you know what I mean. Like
I just don't want him to rush, just like we've talked about.
I'm not saying it's a rush thing, but if everybody feels like it's all right, no, the strain's over, and you get back into minor league shit, then yeah, if he's starting in September and there's no injury concerns, then so be it. I want him starting in September if there's no.
I would like to see it, but that's my concern. Is I just want to make sure that we're.
Well, then they should just never pitch ever.
No. My point is not just rushing him back from this; that he restrains it.
Yeah, but rushing to me means July. Like that's how I feel about rushing it. So if it's September and you're still
here's why I say rushing it, because there's some people that are saying for some guys a lat strain could put you out 6 months. For some guys, it's 2-3 months. I thought that was more when it's like the grade 3s. That's the one like the more severe. But if you rush it, you could turn a grade 2 into a grade 3.
Right, I don't want to talk about Rodriguez anymore. It sucks. It's does sad, suck. And I don't want to fucking talk about it anymore.
John means when you start talking about shoulder.
Yeah. All right. From bad news to some awesome news.
Should just jumped Gunnar all the way up. I'd have been Grayson Rodriguez.
I'm a little surprised he didn't. But Gunnar obviously clearly tonight if Mateo hit a 3-run shot. Gunnar Henderson, shortstop Gunnar Henderson, and third baseman Jordan Westberg, two of the bigger names. These are two of the top 5 guys in the prospects right now. Both on Monday were promoted from Bowie to Norfolk. Now let's take a look at these guys for a second. Number 1, Gunnar was named the Eastern League Player of the Week for the second time this season prior to being promoted. So last week had another great week. But so far in Bowie, he's had 157 at-bats. He's got 49 hits for an average of 312, 8 homers. He's got 35 RBIs, 41 runs, 12 stolen bases, 11 doubles, 3 triples, 38 Ks, 41 walks. He's walking more than he's striking out. What have we talked about? This is a great sign. And 12 stolen bases. You know what I smell? Leadoff hitter.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta get Cedric out of the way first.
Hey, it's all right. But you know what? This everything that I was sitting at, and we talked about it last week, and we I know we were putting it out there, but I tell you what, this kid comes up, it does take the pressure off of Seti. It puts a little, and I would hesitate to have him start. I would want him starting towards the middle of the bottom of the lineup. Same thing like you did with Adley. You try to. I actually think they need to move Adley down in the lineup, take a little bit more pressure off of him.
I think he's down as far as he can go.
Did he start 9?
But I'm saying, no, please do not tell me you're fine with him being in the 9 hole.
If he's 8 or 9 and it means him slowing down in the at bats,
if you can't do
not
it
that he's
6,
already slow.
I don't think 9 matters.
I'm an old school person and traditionalist that I think your place in the lineup does matter. So I get it. Or you move it. You either move him down or you move him up.
He's at 6.
It's one of the two.
He's batting 6.
He's batting 6. Yeah. So it's where they've been usually having him recently. So one of the things that I think that you got to look at is a guy like a Gunnar long term that could be that type of guy. 11 doubles, 3 triples. I mean, when you tell me that a guy has 14 extra base hits out of 49. You're telling me 1 out of every 4 of his hits is an extra base hit? That's leadoff material. A guy that has 12 stolen bases, leadoff material. A guy that has 41 walks, patient at the plate, makes the pitcher pitch to him. These are all those things. It's all the things that we saw.
He's always adjusted each call. And not only that, so he's 20. He's 20. He's in AAA. Everyone he's going to be facing
he's now the
older
youngest
than him. Yeah. So everyone he's going to be facing is older than him. That was always pretty much like a given at Bowie. A lot of anybody who he faced was younger than him. So that's when you say if he was 23, 24, that's when you're still happy, but that's when it's okay, yeah. But it is something to say when a 20-year-old does stuff like that, and I'm not comparing it. It is apples to oranges. But for us, that's like a Manny Machado type thing. You were so good at that age. It's what I mean. The sky's the limit.
Yeah,
I'm not, like I said, not comparing it, straight across the board, but just with the age and the adjusting to the league that every year he gets called up to. That's a great sign.
It's an awesome sign, and it's a surprise that he's been doing that he didn't make that jump.
Yeah,
but I think we've seen this thing out of Elias. Elias hasn't made that jump really with anybody
just in
yet.
general, you rarely see it. I mean, Manny
I think
did it.
Historically, the Ravens have seen, or not the Ravens, the Orioles have seen it.
They probably would. They they'd ask for like a 4A to be existent.
The Orioles have seen it because we've needed it, right? That's been the difference. Now you don't necessarily need it. And Michael, you say, Mike Fink says helps Mateo to hit 9, but 9 is meant for speed. I will tell you as a traditionalist, that is actually incorrect.
Yeah, catchers have to be 9.
9 is meant for contact, you asshole.
A good catchers that have good contact.
Jesus Christ.
Get the
out of here. Get the hell out of here.
I lost it.
Anyway, yeah, stop losing contacts. But, I think for me, I would disagree with you. To me, traditionally, a number 9 hitter is a contact hitter that can roll over the lineup. It's not always about speed. It's a contact hitter. That's why you've seen multiple different guys throughout the years be able to hit that even when they didn't have the speed, or they were pinch hit type situations. It's not always about speed. It's about that contact
the order
at the number 9.
Really helps the first at bat. After that, you can forget about it. Anybody's fucking batting. Unless
you're going against a no hitter like they did against Shane Bieber on Friday. That was rough. But okay, let's flip again back to these two guys. Jordan Westberg, obviously also again promoted, but again, good numbers in 182 at-bats this season. He's got 45 hits. He's got 9 homers, 32 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. He's not necessarily a speed guy at third base, but he's got 14 doubles, so he's got more doubles than Gunnar. But Gunnar had those 3 triples. Both of these guys have 14 extra base hits, which is awesome. The concern, 57 Ks. He's a little impatient at times, but he still does have 26 walks here. Overall, an 817 OPS. It's looking good. It's nothing compared to Gunnar's 1.025 OPS, but it's still good enough to warrant him coming up to that next level, making a transition. I'll go as far as saying, these two guys will be September call-ups. I think these two guys are guys that they're going to look to see what can they do in September, and then they're probably going to get a roster invite.
Yeah, the Orioles right now, too, to bring up other points, like the Orioles really are like in a good spot. I mean, obviously, like they're viewed as the top farm system, but like, so they call up Henderson and Westberg. Well, they were down there with like Joey Ortiz and the other, like the other main player escapes me, but like, they're down there with guys where, like, they were having a hard time. Like, all right, well, how you penciling this lineup in? Because you had, like, 5 infielders, but you can obviously only play, 3 at the other, 3 at the spots. And it's the same thing with AAA now that they're called up with, like, Richie Martin. Like, there's a log jam there. It's a good problem to have. You know what I mean? It's just add to it. But it is, like, it's good to see, especially, like, Gunnar Henderson, because, like, you see, like, that came out at same Adley draft.
Yeah,
and the deal you could agree with on Adley got you Henderson. So.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it's one of those things is you kind of take a step back and you look at the finesse now, right? And you're going, they know what they're fucking doing. You're watching it. You're watching it happen in front of you, even regardless of the whole Adley not hitting right now type thing. It will come around. We've talked about that.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I don't like it, but I'm not worried.
No, but there's a difference with the pitching staff, which is better.
Yeah,
right. So all those things kind of come in. Another intriguing thing, to Fred's point, local Bigfoot sighting. Heston Kersad is taking BP in Delmarva. Finally, this kid is getting some baseball activities in and under his belt, and it's awesome to hear that we're starting to see that, because this is a kid that his bat was one of the things that we had heard prior to the health concerns. His bat was one of those things that everybody was excited about. He had power.
Yeah, I'm one that's always disappointed because like I thought it was pretty. I didn't mind the drafting of him. I started seeing what they were doing with having lefty power hitters and college bats and guys that were more seasoned. Like I started seeing what they were doing then, and it sucks that like shit just happens with him. I'm hoping that like it's in their rear view. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It might not be in the rear view, but I don't want to be super negative with him either. I mean, even if I liking him or not, like it's still a number 1 pick you want to see succeed. Like, granted, he wasn't an Elias guy, but I want to see Stewart succeed. Guess what? He's never going to succeed. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, when the guy guy's not going to succeed, I'm not going to sit there and keep saying, I think he can. So, but right now, I mean, like you'll see now, hopefully he can get into real games and see what we have. Hopefully,
yeah. Hopefully it works out.
Hopefully, it ain't Bigfoot too much longer.
All right, so you guys didn't say that you had seen this. So there was an MLB article, on MLB.com, and the writer Will Leach. They wrote a article ranked the fastest player on every team. So speed really kills. Speed kills teams. Speed kills defense, and it helps pace of play and helps excitement. So I'm going to read the description of what they did, and I want you guys to tell me who it is. So this is per the article and per Will Leach. They say speed never slumps. And in a period of flux like right now, speed is one of the few things any team can count on. A few days ago, our friends at MLB Pipeline looked over the fastest prospect in each system. And today, they looked at each of the fastest guy on every major league squad. And the guy whose speed is making the most difference in the field and on the base pass. Selections are based on StatCast sprint speed and stolen base totals, but also includes a general assessment of how each player's speed impacts games. So with that being said, who did they choose for the Orioles?
This is like a trick question.
Yeah.
Be some random shit like, oh, it's Ryan Mountcastle. Hayes.
You think it's Hayes? Okay.
I'll just go Hayes because he's the next topic.
James, who do you think it is?
Well, I said Mateo, but the way that you're having it is it's probably like fucking a pitcher.
Fucking Ryan McKenna, isn't it?
It's probably
So it's actually not.
I was gonna say, why don't we fucking Ryan McKenna?
It's not anybody that we've named, but Fred likes him. It's the boy Sadie Mulls.
He still shouldn't be batting leadoff. I'm just kidding, Fred. I'm kidding.
But no, so I thought it was interesting what they looked at. They did mention the fact that you mentioned Mateo, and
that's one of those where you don't want to pick the obvious guy. Like it can't be the obvious guy.
But on straight, they did say on straight sprint speed, yes, Mateo was straight sprint speed was faster. But again, that's why I read the whole thing, because you talk about overall impact on the game, and in the outfield, a guy like Cedric Mullins and the speed that he has, and I'm pulling it up now to pull up the article, I'll actually be able to share with you guys what the speeds were. But when you talk about that, that's a guy that's ranging in the outfield. We've seen that with him. He's been able to get to balls that maybe some other guys we didn't think probably could have gotten to. And what was interesting in this, they said Cedric Mullins, the key stat, 28.6 feet per second is sprint speed. And 11 stolen bases. Teammate Jorge Mateo has the top sprint speed. His 30.2 feet per second is second fastest in baseball. So Mateo, one of the fastest guys in baseball, pound for pound. But Mullins actually has the fastest 90-foot splits in all of baseball. And those 90 feet, that's where the game is played after all. So you're not only talking about the fastest guy in MLB, according to their stats. According to their stats, Cedric Mullins is the fastest in baseball.
Now, he could be even better if he didn't strike out as much, right?
Jesus Christ, you better shut up. Fred's not here. He might find his way here to strangle you.
He's like, oh, I'm coming.
I haven't seen Be More Tuber in a while.
My landlord's already came. I gotta go. Speaking of my answer, Austin Hayes at least is like the gem right now, showing off. Continued on Saturday, a 3-run home run. It was his only hit, but it was a 3-run home run. After Saturday, he elevated to his stat line to slashing 294, 364, and 455 with 6 homers, 12 doubles. That doubles are really just as, especially in this ballpark, are just as important as home runs. And 28 RBIs, well on setting his regular season career high, full season regular season career highs. Among qualified American League outfielders, only 5 had a higher OPS than Hayes at his 818 mark.
Pretty good.
As of Saturday. Entering that day, only 10 owned a WAR higher than his 1.2, a mark that, climbed during the day in the production. Right now, like, he's looking like the biggest not the biggest, but there's a lot of good stuff to still be excited about this team. But, like, as a table setter, like, he's been one that's more. I mean, he was doing so good until that whole the hand thing, and I think it looks like he's finally over that. Because before the hand injury, he was at like 300 even, and then you're out for a handful of days, came back a little bit slower.
Didn't look comfortable at first.
Comfortable at first. He's still wearing the gloves, so he had to get used to that.
Yeah, and
right now, it's safe to say. You could come up with other. He could be your American, our All-Star.
He could be
All-Star
the Oriole MVP
representative.
or the All-Star representative right now. I mean,
That's how I view him.
Even after Sunday, where he
He's
didn't
no
have
slouch.
a great day, he's 288 and an 802 OPS. This is still a respectable situation for this guy to be in, especially given this is a guy that some people had written off of just a few years ago, right? They didn't think he had it. They thought the outfield was too dangerous for him. He was too like, this guy is a guy that has stepped up. Him, the other guy that we didn't even have mentioned, Urias, however you want to say it, has been hitting well as well, right? Both of these guys are showing some really great flashes right now. It's just, to me, Hayes offensively, defensively playing really well.
And not even mentioned. Like, I mean, he's had so many good plays in left field. He's thrown out. He has like at least 3 or 4 defensive assists, outfield assists.
God, that 90. He made MLB. They tweeted it out.
Yeah.
Hit the 95 mile an hour from the outfield.
He's manning that left field like it's always been like with the big wall. Like, he knows how to play it. When
he played it better than Cedric the one day.
Maybe run. Yeah, the one that he threw out, like Cedric overran it a little bit. It bounced the wrong way. He was there to pick it up and
played it
got
perfect.
the result. I mean, just all around player. It's good to see because it's not identical in any way, but it's like Mullins from last year, where it was like finally it clicked. It wasn't that it never clicked for Hayes. It was just that there was always some injury that popped up. And it was always so frustrating because you're like, man, you show the glimpses and then something happens with a hamstring or something. I hope he can stay healthy.
Okay, so
for his sake, I think it's just in general, like it's better having him healthy and in the lineup.
We talked about this with Santander last year, right? And with him, he's a guy that he's playing well right now, right? He came off the end of last year playing well. He's playing well right now. My question to you, is he a guy that you are willing to part with? Is he here for the future, or is he here until somebody wants him?
I don't think it'd be anytime soon.
You don't think if trade deadline comes around, he's still hitting close to 300, somebody's not knocking on the door saying what
it'd
is
be the same thing with Mullins or a Mountcastle. They're not going to not listen to offers. Clearly, they're going to listen to offers if it comes in, but they're also not just going to give the guy away. So they're still going to ask for way too, you know what I mean? Like, they would probably ask for way too much. And I don't see them parting just to, there's no salary cap saving move there. There's no like,
fair enough.
If you feel like a guy's going to be a cornerstone, or like you want to see another year or so of it, you're clearly not just going to think
solid outfield arm with a bat and a good glove.
Because even though you're sellers, you're not selling parts of the future. If that was the case, then you just
we're not selling the farm right now.
Someone wanted to ask about Adley, then they're like, "Well, I want your top 6." You know what I mean? Like something.
Give me your next
vulgar
5
question to ask.
What is it? The movie The Draft. Give me your. Give me. I want your first round this year. Your first round next year. Year after that. Year after that. Yeah. No. I agree. I just asked the question because at some point, I can't imagine if he continues with the way he ended last year, the defensive ability we've seen out of him the past really 3 years, and to your point, not even just with great catches, but with that great move off the wall, right? Being able to play it off the wall. He's had a few of them that he's been able to play well, threw a guy out at second, threw a guy out at home, threw a guy out at third. It's been consistent out of him, and he can play all 3 outfield positions. He's got a solid bat right now, which is why I could see them entertaining offers for him. We do know that we've got some guys in the outfield in the minors. The problem is those guys aren't quite producing at the level that he is, so he becomes that much more valuable. To your point, I want to make sure that we're not just willing to give him away because somebody wants him and we think we're getting a haul, we think we're getting something back, because I think he does have a future with this team. He's passionate. He gets these guys excited. Everybody's having fun around him. He seems, I haven't heard anything about it, but he seems like what you're seeing in the clubhouse, like he could be a little bit of a leader.
Yeah. And for me, and I don't mean to harp on and jump on the Mullins. So aside from the discussions I've been having about Mullins would be more that guy for me, because it'd be a little bit less control for the Orioles, and maybe they feel like it's a little further away to not being able to keep him or what all that stuff. But then, fresh in teams' mind, it's a guy that's coming off a 30-30 season,
Yeah.
Like, no, all due respect to Hayes, he hasn't done that yet. You know what I mean? Like, he still needs to.
Didn't have a bad season last year.
But I'm saying it still comes down to showing it.
Yeah.
Whereas Mullins did it. Mullins is a leadoff guy. Those kind of things might value more. It'd be cool to see if Hayes would be, more a leadoff guy, obviously. But I think if you took kind of led them to, I think it would be more logical that Mullins would be the one you get a better deal on that you prefer ahead of
If you have
Hayes,
to part ways, you part ways.
If you were
with
saying
Mullins.
this year at the deadline now, but I don't think either one. I think there's still too much control, and they're still too vital to finding out. I mean, I know you have a log jam of talent at the whole outfield position, but then that's a key thing where if those two guys are key guys and you really feel that, and then they're going to be around long term, then that's when you go and you're the one sending, and you become sellers all of a sudden with guys like Newstrom, Stowers, McKenna, Cowser all the way down. That's when you start wanting to spend that capital you have to bring in pitching or
bring in that piece or two that's going to get you the edge.
I don't see either one of those two going. So bringing up Mullins was
for me
not a joke. It was just he's the one that I would foresee being the one. If you said one of those two were gone, who do you think would be gone? It would be Mullins.
And I get that. I guess my thing of it is I see that they've had what appears to me to be a greater investment on Mullins.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the only thing I would say is that I just see the bigger investment on Mullins than I do on Hayes. Hayes, I think maybe we'll see what happens after this year. We'll see where he ends the year, or even really, maybe mid-season. Mm-hmm. But I was just curious because teams do, when you get a guy that's hot and playing hot, if you think you're a piece, an outfielder away, I mean, he's a top guy that people would be calling for right now because of how he's playing. So it's not completely out of the realm if somebody feels it. Plus, it would be team control. But again, to your point, as long as we're not giving away the house, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I don't think they.
Yeah. Okay. So side note, and there is a Baltimore tie here, but it also leads back to a discussion that we've been having for the past few weeks, and that's around the Angels today fired Joe Madden. The Angels have shit the bed. They got a 12-game losing streak going right now.
Hey, Hyde has made it longer than Joe Madden. They were hired the same time frame, or maybe Hyde was here a little bit longer.
Hyde wasn't expected to start winning day one.
I'm just saying, hey, our guy's still sticking around to prove your point and wanting Hyde around.
We'll get to that in a second.
No,
Phil Nevin is going to be the interim manager now. If you know the last name Nevin, that would be Tyler Nevin's father. Yes, Tyler Nevin in our system.
By the way,
his father is.
I thought he was still calling games for New York. So I really was blown away that he was a bench coach.
All right. So the other big news that happened late last week, Joe Girardi fired from the Phillies. Mm-hmm. So Fred actually,
and then they probably swept that series too.
Right? Crazy. Yeah. Credit to Fred for really kind of bringing this question to the forefront with everything. Right. We talked about a guy. If Brandon Hyde is not the guy to lead this team beyond this season, do either of you think that for Girardi or Madden are the fit?
I don't really have a reason to say that they wouldn't be a fit, but I don't think I really want them.
You don't want them? Okay.
Not really.
That's fair enough. James?
And it's not even really, I'm not, in Madden's case, I guess it's you go through a skid like that where you were literally
the hottest thing.
You were the hottest team and to literally lose 12 straight. I kind of get it.
It seems reactionary.
It seems reactionary. Both cases. Okay, Girardi. Yeah, the Phillies aren't performing to what they expect.
What did you give him to deal
what
with,
if you're giving him? His bullpen is shit.
Exactly.
And his best player is playing hurt. It's kind of like a Baker Mayfield situation. Dude, Harper, I get it. You're playing hard, but you're not really take care of yourself.
You're not 100%, man.
You're not 100%. He's
Yeah.
been playing hurt for and he still does pretty damn good. It's just he was doing much better before the injury issues. Yeah. I get it. They've each had their own kind of success. It's not to sit there and say that if they were hired, if Hyde's gone, they were hired, that it would still be the same or you'd be worse. I don't think that. It's just something. I don't. it just feels like
Fred brought this up because he does, especially with the Madden side of things, because Madden and Hyde are pretty close, right? Madden coached the Cubs while Hyde was there, led them to some success. Madden has had success with a few different franchises at this point, or seen versions of success, maybe not fully, but he's seen versions of success. James, your thoughts? You were also on that side of Hyde's not the guy. Are you still wanting to come from within, or do you want a guy that has some experience like a Girardi, like a Madden?
We're talking about the wrong person to be fired. It should be on the Ravens side, but like I said, Girardi, no, because he was a Yankee. I don't like his personality at all. It clearly showed in Philadelphia that he wasn't getting it done. Madden, love the name, love the guy, but you're walking on, bridges with Brandon Hyde and him being together. Like, to get fired or let go for Joe Madden, it'd be pretty fucked up. But I honestly think it's going to be an inside guy with what's his face?
With Buck Britton.
Yeah. Yeah. So
all right.
I just hate this. I just hate this because it's a tough situation. Like, the Orioles could only go up. They can't really go down even more because you're bringing these guys up. You're building this dream team that's supposed to be coming up. So Austin Hayes hit a home run. So
nice. By the way, David Missler with the comment of the night, as he says, I see the headline now.
I like that one.
Drew's last day at Birdland BS. He went all in on to take off Fred.
They like having me around. Plus, Ryan's never around anymore. You got to have at least that fourth member.
Oh man, no. Look, I asked the question because Fred proposed it, and I thought it wasn't a bad question, right? I mean, when you talk about a guy like Madden has had success, right? He's been able to lead young teams, right, to some floors. We've seen him do it now with Tampa Bay. We saw him do it with the Cubs. I mean, there is
World Series with the Cubs.
There is value there. Did he win? He won a World Series with the Rays too.
No, he went to
one. They haven't won one yet.
He lost it.
They lost to Philadelphia.
Oh, that's right. Why did I think they
lost to Philadelphia? Then they kind of had a dip for like several years, and then they never looked back. At least
I swore that they had won a World Series.
Hayes hit a home run, so it's 8-2. But the next batter was Mountcastle. He actually hit the ball and hit the bottom of the left field, and then rolled a little bit.
That sucks.
So
he's one that wall is no match for him.
Well, we've talked about this before. The thing with that wall is it's hurt everybody wants to make the whole thing about Judge. I'd love to see the stats of how many Orioles hits would have gone out versus how many other teams.
Mancini alone.
Exactly, and that's my point. I think it's actually hurt the team in that aspect. And look, they get it. They're gonna have that happen.
It's create a park, even when you're the opposing player hits a home run to the part that wasn't altered.
Right, exactly.
Even though all parks are create a park, but
So Adit says, extend Hayes or extend Mancini. If you can only extend one, which one would you do,
Hayes.
and what would you
be
willing to pay? I would go Hayes, 5 years, $95 million. 95, I think, is a little high. I agree, Hayes. I think if
he
Hayes
still has he still has to show.
He's got to prove a little bit more, right? If he starts into next year that he's playing like he's playing right now, he continues this year and he starts next year like that, 100% by the end of May, if he's hitting anywhere close to 300, hell yeah, I would get close to that. And when it comes, 95 is a little rich, but I would say yeah.
Orioles fans really, I don't mean it in the most, I'm not doing it to be an asshole. I like Mancini. He's a great dude. Everything he's done, I would never be able to do. I probably would have got cancer. I would have been able to fight it.
O's fans are a little bought into the story.
It's amazing. It's cool. He's not the long-term solution. He's a DH at this point, and you can't afford to pay a DH, and it won't be astronomical. Even that money isn't astronomical to me, but at some point, you're good, but you're not some stellar player.
I think people are hoping
there's no wow factor. It's just
there was a wow factor before everything happened.
I'm never that wowed by Mancini. He's a really good player.
Yeah,
he is a really good player. But to think he's some huge can't miss, can't let him go type of thing. I don't think that. He's not 25. He's 30.
He ain't no
okay.
Mike
A 5-year deal takes you to 35. That doesn't seem like anything, but a lot of these guys
for a DH, it seems normal.
But I'm saying, like, I wouldn't want them wasting a bunch of money on a DH. That should be a spot you should be able to play with. You should be able to play with because you got a guy like Adley who might not be. He's not going to catch every day.
Look,
you want in the lineup. Or Mountcastle. Maybe there's. You know what I mean? Like
I don't look. Again, I do what I'm doing here because somebody's got to ask it. So it's not three guys sitting here agreeing all night because we see how fast this show goes when we're agreeing all night. But no, I bring it up just for the simple fact that, like, look, I get it, but the guy did have it. And I think some people hang on to, hoping that it's not even just what he did last year from that. The dude came back and showed power at a national level during the one event that everybody loves, right? Everybody looks at that and a lot of fans, right or wrong, a lot of fans look at the home run derby as a way to gauge a guy and gauge his power.
It's definitely wrong.
It's proven wrong, but people don't look at it that way, right? Guys that have historically won it don't always continue to do well.
You know what the Orioles don't get well? Is their fucking game used store. That store is the biggest joke. That store pisses me off. Out of all the ballparks I've been to a lot of ballparks. That goddamn store pisses me off of what they do. Like one day, this year they started saying MLB doesn't tell us who hit the balls or whatever, so it's an even $35
for our game used ball because you don't know who hit it. Yeah.
When Adley got called up, all of a sudden now they get auctioned off. So you got to pay ridiculous money for a ball because Adley's up. So it's all about the money that they make there, and they're so goddamn
hold on.
high.
What are you talking about? They don't know who hit it. They do. There's a QR code on every.
I understand, but years past they would have them written down. They don't write them down no more.
Because it's in a system. It's in a system database.
I understand, but they would charge differently for balls. Now it's just straight $35.
So you're not overpaying for some balls.
You can pay for like crap ball. At least before I could check what I was getting. Before I fucking paid the money, like it's $35.
You're talking about the grab because they have
the skin in the game. So
they have a grab because I've seen what you're talking about because I went into the store to look at the seats that they had for sale.
I didn't even know it existed
for the left field wall.
So years past, the 7th and the 9th, they would give out balls.
Yeah.
So MLB will put the number on and say, let's say Trout hit a single or a foul ball off of that. They would put it as, since it was Trout,
it's a Mike Trout
pitcher,
ball.
So it'll be $130. And then you'll have like a Mancini foul ball, it'll be like $65. Or you'll just have like a guy that got called up, it'll be like $30.
But
now it's $35. No. They would, MLB and Orioles will make the price. But now MLB just puts a sticker, sends them up. You don't know what happens until you punch that.
It's a grab
number
bag.
in.
It's
and
a grab
I'm shitting
bag.
on MLB, not the.
Okay, but so here's my thing with this: is
MLB is fucking.
There's a reason
other stadiums
okay.
have that where it tells you what it is.
But there's a reason that the
St. Louis game when the Orioles were there, some guy from Baltimore was able to get a ball from someone from St. Louis. It said who hit it and everything.
But so here's the thing with that, James, is I understand what you're saying, and you, myself. James or Drew, Fred, we're not the average fans. When we're buying something, we want to know exactly what we're buying because we want it to have meaning, right?
Yeah.
The average fan, if Ryan goes to the game, Ryan is willing to pay $35 for this to be a chance because he doesn't know what it could be. He's taking that gamble. Probably not. He's probably not the best example, but I'm using it because everybody knows Ryan doesn't do baseball.
You probably want to spend $10 for.
My whole point is I can have one person buy 2 balls at $150 a pop, or I can have 10 people buy balls at $35 a pop. Not knowing because they don't care and they like the idea of it. I watched a guy buy 7 balls one night sitting there because he was looking to see if he could get something. He wound up getting like a foul ball from like a Giancarlo Stanton or something like that, or an Aaron Judge. And he was like, oh, cool. But then there were a few of them, like one of them was a Robert Andino foul ball.
Give it to me. Feed that into my veins. Robert Andino's a fucking hero. Give me that ball.
But he didn't know because you could tell he was a fan that wasn't around prior to that or didn't care about it. Whatever.
They do the store so bad because like their lineup card. You can't even get a lineup card from like this year or last year. You have to get like a lineup card from 2016 or 2017. They are so behind and they're so high on their stuff, thinking that it's premium shit when it's not. When you can go up to Boston and you get, I got the lineup card from when Machado came back to Boston when he hit Pedroia in the leg and had all these starts. I got it for $100 before the game even started. I went up there. I was like, is there any way I can get the lineup card? They're like, yeah. They do everything right up there. They have series shirts and hats already made. It will say like Boston Orioles, the whole series date on it. $25, whatever. They do everything right, and you can get balls. You can get
when
bats.
you're filling the stands, no matter what team you're playing, it's easy. But it's when you have teams, you got to look at this from a little bit of a business perspective. I have an understanding that they're trying to say, lower it, make it a grab bag. We can get more people to come and participate and buy this. Maybe while they're in here, because the balls are cheaper.
They sell. Those balls sell.
But they only sell to, when you have them that high, they only sell to people. So if I go in there and I see this ball, right, from Adley Rutschman, who I really like right now, is $150. For me, I'm looking at it saying $150 for a foul ball off a guy. No, sorry. Anybody that would pay that much for a foul ball just because of the name of who hit the foul ball. It's like all the guys that, for me, in the outfield during batting practice that are out there and they've got these balls, and I've gotten yelled at before for handing a ball over to a kid, literally for it being a Mike Trout or an Albert Pujols, two names that actually happened to me. I gave the balls away, and I had two separate people approach me. Did you know that? Why did you give that away? Mike Trout and Albert Pujols hit those balls.
That kid don't give a shit.
Who gives a fuck? It's a batting practice home run ball. It has no meaning.
Yeah.
It has no meaning unless it's got the guy's signature on it. It means something. It means more to a kid that I hand it to because he remembers it, and it's a situation. I remember the first time, so I can tell you the exact person, where I was sitting when someone handed me a ball when I was a kid. I remember that. We all probably remember if we got a baseball when we were younger. We all
took
probably
that
got
ball and handed it down to his kid, and it's a birthright.
I never got a ball because by the time I got out to the ballpark, I was a teenager. My stepfather took me because my dad wasn't into sports. He was more about working and all that. So my stepfather took me there. So I finally got a ball because I had to work for it, chase one down and catch one. But now I heard, another thing is they let BP practice. You can never watch the Orioles BB practice unless you're a season ticket holder.
No,
now.
not even true anymore.
It's an hour before and it's already over.
But now someone said BB practice. Let's say it was at 2:00. But then when you get at 2:00, they said they already did it at 1:00 the BB practice, and a lot of people are getting pissed about that.
So they're allowing Orioles season ticket holders. It was actually just this weekend. It was only for this weekend. They allowed them in an hour and a half early if you were a season ticket holder only. Now the thing was when fans got in there to that point, they were already done. And
the Angels were running out there, and it was like the very beginning.
Right.
Of
a lot of people were pissed. They're like,
and I think the thing here is, it's always been something that I've disliked, and I don't know. Maybe the Orioles have historically done it because they never were numbers teams, but maybe some teams do it because they feel it gives a competitive advantage. Their guys can rest a little bit longer. Their guys can can relax before the game versus going out, doing it, coming back, and only having 20 minutes before you got to be back out in the field in uniform. I can maybe get it. But I agree. From a fan's perspective, it does suck. It sucks that you can't see your own team do it anymore. You have people that go taking off running to grab the balls that are there and hope that like all those. You have no idea who hit them.
I don't care.
But that's my point. It's a batting practice ball, or it means
no value to me. No value to me. But if I have my son there, I give it to him. He'd be excited as hell.
Exactly. And for me, I'm the same way. You want to know the one time I kept a ball for myself and kept one for my dad? 20th anniversary balls. They were batting practice 20th anniversary balls.
Was it for that year? Or
it was that year.
leftovers?
It was that year.
Okay.
It was that year. I have mine upstairs. My dad has his in his basement on his desk. Like, we both have them because it meant something to us. We had been there, those season tickets for 20 years.
Yeah, I got
now
one
it's 30
too,
years.
but I bought mine. I bought mine. I think it was probably like Derek
I've never
Jeter.
caught a foul ball, a home run ball.
matter of fact,
I've never had a ball thrown to me. No, I can't.
Scott,
I have one cool story.
Did you pull a Fred?
No, I have one cool story. I know he doesn't. You can stop listening because you don't care about the guy. Yeah, it was his last. It was literally his last year, and I maybe it wasn't his last year. It was like 1999, 2000. So I went to a game with my dad and my grandparents. We had like third base side, like we were like 10 rows up, and we were there before the game, whatever. And like Cal came, hey, I got a ball. Oh, cool. Grabbed the ball. He was there for a handshake. I took off running. I was so excited. My dad's like, go shake his hand. He's like waiting for me to shake his hand. That's like my only. I've never caught a foul ball. Never caught a home run ball.
But again,
But Scott, that 20th
so that maybe
year,
that's why I don't really bring
if I'm
much
correct,
to the table.
The 20th year, because I think that was Derek Jeter's last year.
it also
20th
was
year.
Derek Jeter's last
So
year.
anyway, I had that ball. I have a foul ball. His last one at Ken Yards. I bought one. I think I paid like $180 for that ball.
Yeah, I mean,
But it
look,
was a foul ball by him.
I get it, and there's certain things that have certain meaning to some people, and I get that. But when if it's an in-game, it was game used ball. Okay, that's again different. For me, the batting practice stuff, unless it's the furthest ball ever hit in batting practice, somebody at Oriole Park hits a third deck homer, and I get it. You damn Skippy, I'm taking that down and saying I want this verified because I know it's the longest home run at that point. But when it's not, somebody hits the ball, hits the warehouse during batting practice. Okay, maybe I get that one because maybe it comes out. So and so hit the warehouse. Yeah, I got the ball. Now it means something. But when it's just a basic home run during
Scott,
batting
you know
practice,
what, and Drew, you know what ball sucks to get unless you have your son or your kids with you, is at minor league ballparks. If you're sitting there with like just adults and you catch a ball, it's like mandatory to hand it off to like one of the kids. If you're that guy that keeps that ball, it'd probably be like Ryan if he was there, unless he had his daughter. But if you're there as a single guy and you catch a ball, you see all the
you find the youngest kid. Yeah.
You got to hand it up. Not you catch shit
Fuck
so
that
much.
kid.
Dude.
Fuck them kids. I've
Which
never
sucks,
caught
dude,
a foul
because
ball.
I've never caught a foul
I've
ball.
never caught
ever.
a foul ball or a home run ball. I'm not giving it up. And I would say, look, I will literally, I don't care, the whole crowd be like, look, hey, see this? You see these two kids here? It's for them. You can leave me alone. This ball staying in my goddamn grip.
yeah. Now look, the other thing I think too.
I get what your point. You would feel that way.
When you're looking at that type of stuff, like it's one of those things that you kind of sit back and as a baseball fan, as we're all baseball fans, I think one of the things that we kind of look at is valuing, just the experience, right? Being there, you're talking about handing the ball to a kid, and it really is. It's about the experience. It's about doing it. And yes, if you caught a foul ball and a bunch of kids came running up to you, yes, you might feel that obligation. But it's different when you catch a ball. Fred. Well, no, Fred doesn't know. But anyway, he's not even here.
Butterfingers is still there.
And
Yeah,
he
right.
dropped multiples on TV too. I was sitting at home. I see Fred like big old guy like here, the ball just fucking like drops out. Like
Yeah.
If he was on Scott's deck, though, I'd bet he'd catch it.
Only if Lamar's throwing it. All right.
Take after take after take.
I gotta hit this button.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
I forgot the damn gang signs.
We're
'cause
too
we were
busy
talking
talking.
about it. By the 2-minute warning, who's gonna take it? Oh man! All right,
I'm making the host go first.
I gotta go first simply because these guys chimed in our chat last night, and I actually was asleep, so I didn't read it till this morning. So I went ahead and put it as the question so you guys can hear my answer.
You watched it though, right?
Huh? I went back and watched it,
Okay,
yeah, but
okay.
I was asleep when it happened, so I had to go back and watch what happened and kind of break it down. So okay, James, go ahead. I'll let you ask the questions.
all right. After a pretty good season, the Turf baseball squad sees their season come to an end with an 8-11 loss to UConn last night.
Fred was there.
Yep.
Fred and
I
Ryan.
was watching it. Thoughts on the play in the 8th that saw Aline thrown out at first for interference and preventing a running from scoring.
All right, so the whole play definitely sucks. It is what's wrong with baseball at whatever level. However, per the letter of the NCAA rule, the rule is after 45 feet, they actually, unlike the MLB, say you must be running in that lane. And if you are inside fair territory and the ball hits you or you interfere with the play, you are automatically out. It is cut and dry. The decision was actually to the letter of the rule.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. I get people being up in arms. It is a heartbreak, and I get it. For me, the only thing that could have made it better for anyone who was against it is the guy not trying to throw it out at home. If he was throwing that ball from inside fair territory, it would have been definitely interference because it would have been affecting the play that way instead of coming from behind.
Yeah.
It was ugly. It was all ugly.
More in the after hours.
All right, and today Aaron Rodgers said he doesn't know how many more seasons he will play, but he knows definitely finishing with the Packers. Do you believe him or not?
Oh, he just signed, what, a 3-year deal?
Highest guarantees.
I think a part of me wants to believe him because he's going to play out the 3-year deal. He's going to play. I really, truly do think he does. But I also, part of me thinks he winds up coming back with some other team down the road, pulling a Favre, pulling a Brady, because he wants to shove it to the Packers. He doesn't want to shove it to the Packers fans. He wants to shove it to the front office.
I think he retires a Packer at this point. I don't think he goes away, plays golf for a year, and decides I don't think he's pulling a Brady. I think there's only one person that does stuff like that, and that's Tom Brady. I think
Favre did it.
Yeah, well, that guy's pretty fucking seedy. So that guy ain't the best of characters either. No, I just think that he got the deal that he wanted. He proved his point. Now he's made it. He's there for the rest of his career.
All right. Where's my last button here? There it is. I'm used to Fred hitting this button.
I'm afraid to hit things.
You can't touch things.
I haven't ever since you guys changed everything. Since everything changed, I'm not touching anything.
We move things around on the backside.
So afraid.
We're excited because there may be a new potential console coming. That's the upgraded version that can do like so much more. It's crazy.
And I'm definitely not touching things.
At first, we're not going to allow you, so don't worry. Ooh. But no, we appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week and joining us. As always, you can check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes. You can learn about each of us. You can contact us. Check out Shell and Tell, too. The guys, they're doing their countdown on Twitter and Facebook on Shell and Tell. At Shell and Tell is how you find them. They're doing their countdown to kickoff, 100 days. I believe they're at 96 now or 92, somewhere around in there. One of those numbers is sticking out in my head. But make sure you go check out, give them a follow. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and share to all of our social media accounts. Again, at BirdlandBS is how you find us. You can follow each of our individual handles as well. Make sure you check out and hit that the not only the subscribe button but the alert notification button so you can know when we go live or we put out new content. We're always looking to do new things. We're always looking for sponsors and ideas for the show. So make sure you reach out to us, send us private messages, whatever. We always try to get back to you pretty quickly. And also make sure you on the audio version of the podcast, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever. If you got a damn Android like this guy, wherever the hell you listen to it, make sure you give us a 5-star.
Same app, no matter the phone.
And make sure you give us a 5-star review. I didn't know you have Apple Podcasts.
Fuck that podcast. I'm watching on Spotify.
Make sure you give us a 5-star review. It helps us to be found by other fans of the show or other fans of sports. Helps us grow this Birdland BS network. We obviously love all the listeners and all of you guys that are out there on the weekly and daily. Chiming in, having comments for everything that we're doing, so we appreciate it. And again, for Fred, who's not here, Drew, James, myself, and Ryan, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya. Oh, that little spot? No
All
shit.
right, go ahead and share it, James. Share
That's
it live because it
amazing.
just happened.
So Reyes just hit a home run. It was and you see like the left fielder like like looking at the corner of the wall, and then like
Can I get
try
up
to
there?
jump on the side of the wall, and the ball landing in between the bullpen fence area, the net,
little rectangle,
and that-
like, dead
No,
space.
apparently,
No, it's a rectangle. It's a gap.
apparently
Yeah, it's
it
a
looks like a walkway. It has enough room to be a walkway. I don't
Yeah.
know if they left poured concrete and made it solid, but the ball just like ran down.
Somebody said they think that can be like in case they needed to get somebody out, that can actually be like taken out and it's access down to the stairway.
Maybe for like concerts.
Maybe.
something.
I don't know. We'll have to see as stuff
It
happens.
just had
But
an open space. There's no debate. It just was some open space and it closed it
It was
around
like
it.
it was just what it looked like.
It's not
enough to be
big,
a
yeah.
walkway.
so I
crazy.
gotta ask that since you said
So
it,
how many home runs have they hit tonight? Like
Yeah, a
5?
lot, dude.
4 or 5 at this
Fucking
point, it
hell.
sounds like.
Good.
9-3.
Good. Fucking pour it on.
Love it. All right, so we were talking about it. It was one of the 2-minute warning questions, and we were talking about those that are upset, and obviously face value. Yeah, you want to be upset when it comes down to that situation because they were so close. They had a great comeback. It wound up. It was 8-10 at that point, top of the 8th, and you see that situation, and to give everybody the rule that I was talking about, this is straight from the NCAA. Let me go back up here, and then I can show you guys what it is. So this is straight from the NCAA 2021 and 2022 rules book. So when you look at this, and you're kind of saying, okay, what's the rule? What are they citing? What are they going after? When you search it, it says there is a rule. This is I don't know what actual section this is. So this is the exception section, and it is letter P. In running the last half of the distance from home plate to first base while the ball is being fielded to first base, the batter runner runs outside the 3-foot line, restraining the 3-foot restraining line, or inside the foul line, and in doing so interferes with the fielder taking the throw at first base, except that the batter may go outside these lines to avoid the fielder attempting to field a batted ball. Note, if the batter runner is running illegally to first base, which technically by definition, he never was inside that 45-foot, 3-foot lane, right? So with that, if they illegally run to first base and his being outside the lane alters the throw of the fielder, hinders or alters a fielder's opportunity to field the throw, or the batter is hit by the throw that has been made in an attempt to make the play, it shall be called interference and the batter runner is called out. That is the definition of what happened in that game last night. It's actually the definition of what we've seen several times in MLB. I get it. The rule sucks to the point of Billy Ripken that said it in MLB. It's a shitty rule. It sucks. It needs to be reviewed.
It's just one more thing for that a judgment call left.
It's a judgment call left to the umpire. But it's not at the same time because if the rule is you need to be in this lane, then you have to be in that lane.
Now, does that rule say that no one else is allowed to move up? Because that doesn't make any sense to me.
So
here's where people go, okay, well, that happened, but why you take the runner off?
So
here's
the continued because that could have altered the play at home. So for argument's sake, you could have a double play in that situation. Not saying it would have happened there.
And that was my point, the 2-minute warning. If the pitcher would have just not, we wouldn't have this controversy to begin with, or the controversy.
But his momentum carried him out in foul territory.
Because he was trying to throw the runner out at first and couldn't. If he would have just gone and got the run out at first, anyway, we wouldn't have this controversy. Or two, then he would definitely be an interference more likely.
Here's what I'm going to say.
Because he would have been throwing it into the base.
Per the rule, they do give some exceptions. The batter runner is permitted to exit the 3-foot lane by means of a step, stride, reach, or slide in the immediate vicinity of first base and for the sole purpose of touching first base or attempting to avoid a tag. He may exit the running lane on his last stride or step if he has been running legally within the running lane up to that point. Here's the deal for everybody that wants to argue. I get it.
You're in the dirt. You're
but
good.
The rule
That's
is the rule. If he's in the foul territory on that line, even if he's stepping on the line, he's fine. The problem is, go back and watch the video. He's unfortunately on the first base, or he's on fair territory. He's not. He's almost touching the grass, and as he's running down the line, he's actually moving further outside.
I took it. He ran right down the dirt line.
If you watch his feet are actually on the left side
It's the
of their inferior
smallest of
territory.
margins.
It's the smallest
But
of
the
margins.
thing-
I get it,
the
but the
thing-
rule is the rule.
I understand that, but that's a bullshit ass call in that time, that kind of game.
But you can't be mad at the umpire for
I am-
going by
I
the
am-
letter of the law.
I'm mad because he ran straight down. The first baseman was clearly just standing on the fucking bag. And then, hold on, the ball was thrown to the left. Instead of like getting off the
Should
bag.
have threw it to the right and wouldn't.
Hold
was
on,
not
if you watch it,
impeded.
instead of like the way that the pitcher threw it, the ball went left of the bag, and the first baseman went more to the run into
Even
the
if
guy
you were
thing.
He was
running-
expecting the inside.
He didn't even like go for the ball. He tried to put his glove out and went this way. He was like this.
They were rewarded for playing that like shit.
It was dirty.
Like even if that's the rule and you go by the letter of the law, it doesn't affect anything.
He didn't even try to get the ball. He
if you-
tried to put his glove out and put his body in the way.
But
he was basically
he was not
standing
putting
on the fucking bag.
Stop. If that's what you think is happening, then you don't understand baseball. What he was expecting there was because the pitcher was carrying himself into foul territory, he was expecting the ball just as a catcher would do, throwing to the inside of the bag, throwing to foul territory. At which point, if he's running that lane,
I would had the fucking first baseman go to the outside because it makes it a lot easier
Going to the
than
foul-
throw
going
the
to
ball
foul-
over the runner.
going to foul territory, right?
Yeah, I would throw it on the fucking right side.
That's what the first baseman was trying to do.
No.
no,
when
he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
No.
If you watch him, he's
I
standing.
was watching the game.
He was
I was
straight
watching the
on
game.
it. He was straight on it when the
Yeah,
he wasn't.
threw
There
it
was nothing
over,
about foul.
and then
Because
the guy
his-
put his glove
he
out this
started
way and
moving
put his
this
body
way.
He didn't move
He
out of the
went
way
back.
to avoid the runner.
No, he didn't.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't.
But that's
have to.
what we're saying.
The
He wasn't-
contact,
the bag.
the
He was
contact with the runner has nothing to do with the interference call. The interference call is he did not run down the line, which created no lane for the player,
He was down the
regardless
line
of it's
the whole
inside
time.
or outside. But that's my point.
That's like the
If
way
he
they
runs
played that, though.
inside,
Then they could have been interference on
if
first
he
baseman
runs-
for not getting out.
Yeah.
No,
not
he
being-
was blocking.
he has
the-
right of way in the ball. Same thing.
Yeah, but you can't sit there and just stand on the first base.
Well, they need to change it, just like a catcher. You can't block home plate if you're coming home. They should let him move out of the way.
I didn't feel as he was standing on
It was
first
the
base.
slight-
When I
can't-
watch it, I look at him.
I get
he's
where you're-
looking and moving this way because he sees his pitcher running toward into foul territory. He's moving this way, expecting an inside throw. Last second, he realizes ball's coming up in the air. He comes back, but sees the runner. That's why he crunches down. He's not sitting there making the interference
No,
call.
what I saw was
It's college baseball. You don't
I-
expect these guys to understand.
Well,
all
then
of
they
it.
shouldn't
No,
be
no.
playing baseball at all. Then
What I saw was he
Go play soccer.
He fielded the ball. He looked like he was going to try to
Then the
tag
same could be said
runner.
for the runner.
Hold on. This
runner
is-
should know where to run.
no, he wouldn't be good
Drew.
enough for soccer because he can't flop like
Yeah.
the other guy did because he
Drew,
fucking flopped.
what I-
Oh, my stomach hurts. The guy barely touched you.
Drew,
the
what
guy's smaller than me.
What I saw with the play, he hit the ball. It looked like the pitcher tried to tag the runner, knew that he couldn't tag the runner, and was falling towards the foul territory and like lobbed it over the batter, and the ball went to the inside of first base, and the first baseman went like this. Went exactly like this, ran into the fucking runner. The batter had nowhere to go because he was standing on the fucking bag, dude.
Here's the deal. Again,
It was a bullshit ass call.
I'm not
Like,
saying it's a bullshit. I'm agreeing with you guys that it's a bullshit rule. However, the rule is if he's running in foul territory, we're not having this conversation. He's standing on first base. And if they do call the interference, then yes, it's bullshit. The problem is, just as you want to blame the first baseman, the runner's at fault. The rule, I just read you the rule.
I understand,
The rule
but
is he
if
has to be, stop. He has to be 45 feet past. As soon as you hit that 45-foot mark, there's a goddamn line that tells
he
you where
was
you're
on the
supposed to
dirt
be.
the whole time, all the way down that line.
He's
dude.
on the left side of the dirt. The rule says you have to be on the right side of the dirt. I just read it to you. He has to be in the runner's lane, which is the marking of the lines. Here's the left side of the line. Here's the right side of the line. Even if you're one step over, you're running it the entire way. It doesn't matter. What the rule allows is you run in that lane, and at the last second, if he takes and he moves to take that first base on the inside, on the outside, and collides there, where it's not a
Okay,
conversation.
Scott, I understand it, but you know how you fix that? You make the bag the same width of the whole line to run in, so you have an area to fucking run to.
Again, I'm not disagreeing
because if
with
you look
you.
at the bag is lined up evenly with that line that's fair and foul. Okay, so if they extend the bag out to the right, You can run straight down that line and fucking be on base, dude.
I'm not.
It's a bullshit ass call.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but to say it's a bullshit ass call is irrelevant. It's a bullshit ass rule. It's not a bullshit ass call. The umpire made the call to the letter of the fucking rule. To the letter of the rule. It's like the strike zone. If it goes down the middle of the fucking plate, it's a fucking strike. And if you don't call it, that's a bullshit
and just
call.
To let you know, the umpire first base was like safe, so he must have not knew the rule too, but. Clearly
because he's not allowed to make an interference call. The interference call has to come from the home plate umpire.
I get it, but he clearly thought it was safe, and he
has to make that
call. If he was behind the home plate, he probably would have called him safe.
Okay.
It still should have been played better as a fielder, like to play devil's advocate. Like
it's just a shitty call. They should just fix it by extending first base, make it wider.
I'm not disagreeing with you that it's a shitty rule, but to say it's a shitty rule and a shitty call are two different things.
Last time I checked, the way I run towards the base. The base is on that fucking line, so you have to be off the line and come back into the bag. On that type of play, which is bullshit. Make the bag wider so you can just be.
Well, what doesn't make sense to me of the whole rule? Let's stop. Calm down. What doesn't make sense to me with a rule like that is you're not talking about, like, say the foul line was the same exact width as the out of bounds for NFL. Then you go, okay, you have this whole spot. So you're talking about a line that barely fits your feet. So if you're staying by that, I'm saying the rule, not what got called. So don't start clapping and get angry at me. I agree with you, just not as I don't care as much. It's college baseball.
I just get
it's a stupid rule because there's no way any runner at any time is ever not on one side or the other. It's going to happen all the time because your momentum, and if you're trying to beat out a throw, running faster, you're not thinking about that mentality. And then that's where that's where the rule gets compounded worse, because if the fielder and the pitcher played that a whole lot better, they would have got the out, because he should have just said, I'm not going for the home plate. You're up 2. You need the out. You want outs. It doesn't matter. That run really doesn't matter. You need to get out of the inning. So let's just forget the rule and how baseball should be played. You should have not tried to get the runner at home. It wouldn't have mattered. You wouldn't have got him. Then your momentum wouldn't have took you where you were throwing this dumbass throw, and the first baseman should not be playing where he played it. Now, that's one. Devil's advocate, I can't really feel bad for the Terps. I'm going to start shitting on them. How about you don't give up 6 runs in the first inning with 1 hit and 5 walks? If you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have 5 walks, maybe they don't score that. Maybe you're winning this game freaking 8-2 or something like that. And then the fact that, like, by the time and then they were kind of defeated, but whatever, don't give up another run. And then when you come up in the top of the 9th and you need runners, don't be flailing at terrible, like, pitches out of the zone. Like, they showed no effort whatsoever. I get it. You feel defeated, and that sucks. But man up and say, I got to try to fucking get on base. And at that point, they gave up. You can't give up.
And they brought the third baseman in the pitch.
At some point, like, that should happen. But there's other factors in the game that should have, or bookended, that should have been played back.
Agreed. All right. We're going to get out of here for tonight. Appreciate you guys still tuning in.
Dave might be the only one.
Yeah, Dave has been chiming in. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, all of you guys for staying with us in the After Hours segment. And we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Yeah.